Testing is already underway, and those returning home to the affected public housing estates are only just finding out that they won't be able to leave for another 5 days. Mark Santomartino is in Flemington. Mark, how are people taking the news?
They've responded with everything from confusion to frustration and, of course, concern, Brett, not just for getting infected, but, of course, the impact this is going to have on their lives. We've spoken to one woman just then who was worried about her grandmother that needs people to come in and help her eat 3 times a day. She doesn't know if that will be allowed to continue. We saw one couple packing their things up into a car and driving off, and another man has told us that he's going to not go inside and consider getting a hotel because he simply can't do without the work. This is going to be a massive enforcement operation. The Premier does not want this to go down the same road as hotel quarantine, with infections spreading out into the community. So Victoria Police has been called in. They'll be stationed at every single door and on every single floor, making sure residents know that they won't be allowed to leave for at least 5 days.
Nah, that's too much. I don't know if I could cope with that.
Go my job, no, I'm going to a job.
I'm actually on placement, doing my placement. So if I don't have to go do it, it's going to interrupt my study.
The first priority here is to find every case in those towers so that we don't have an explosion of infections in a highly vulnerable community and very high rates of hospitalisations and deaths because of the background health status of a large number of people in these towers.
There are more than 3,000 people that live in more than 1,000 of these units across 9 towers, Brett, and a big concern is going to be just how they feed them, given that they won't be allowed out to do their own grocery shopping. The Premier says that will be covered, as well as any other support that the government can offer.
Mark, thank you. Now, authorities hope to test every single one of those residents within the 5-day lockdown. Kari-Anne Greenbank joins us from North Melbourne. Kari, restrictions could be lengthened if people don't comply.
Well, that's right, Brett. Right now, every resident of these 9 towers have to stay home for 5 days. However, the state government has the power to extend that out for 14 days. The plan is to test every one of the residents for COVID-19. Residents can refuse to be tested, but if they do, health authorities say that will further complicate an already difficult situation. Now, just a short time ago, the acting Chief Medical Officer, Paul Kelly, called an emergency meeting. He has described this as a new phase of the pandemic. This total lockdown is the first of its kind in Australia. Has described it as a difficult but important step, and it does come with a number of promises from the Premier.
You are on the front line of our fight against this virus. We are proud of you. We understand that you need support, and we will get that support to each and every one of you.
So the Premier has promised to support every one of the residents inside these towers. But across the city today, those already in those lockdown suburbs turned out for testing as a number of new testing sites opened up. At Craigieburn, having hundreds of door knockers on the streets resulted in this. Long queues of those waiting to be tested, including the Paladin family.
This morning they just knocked on our door here in our home, and then, they just asked us.
My mum just told me to calm down.
Hotspot shopping strips are open but empty. The difference between High Point in a lockdown suburb and Chadstone outside lockdown was clear. It was a weekend where your postcode determined your day.
What suburb are you from?
I'm from Ascot Vale.
You're from Ascot Vale, okay.
Another 3 fines handed out for those breaching restrictions. As coronavirus closes more stores, including Kmart Brunswick, Kmart Footscray and Bupa at the Glen Shopping Centre. The lines drawn from suburb to suburb resulted in this sign appearing on the border of West Footscray.
It's funny. It is funny. I've got to laugh. I'm laughing.
More than 900,000 tests have now been done since the start of the year. A record 25,000 of those just yesterday. But concerns over home testing remain.
For the government to just leave a testing package at someone's doorstep, you may as well put it in the gutter. Frankly, a lot of people won't accept it, and that means our testing rates will be lower than they need to be.
With 10% of residents in hotspot suburbs refusing the test, the Premier says he's unlikely to ever enforce the procedure. It's still to be seen whether the rollout of the new saliva testing kits will help boost the numbers. More testing sites are opening each day. Today, that included sites at Melbourne Airport and Airport West. Kari-Anne Greenbank, 9 News.